Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm here today to do a reading for this full moon partial eclipse that's taking place today on June the 5th in Sagittarius. It is just a partial eclipse. It's not going to be a full eclipse because the moon's node is further away from where the actual eclipse is taking place, but it is going to be a partial eclipse and it will be seen by some people in Europe. I have done an astrological video for this as well. The astrology side of this I did yesterday, so that is, as I speak, uploading at this moment in time. It's been very slow again to upload, but hopefully it will be uploaded and out for you by today if you're interested in going and looking at that reading. So the Sagittarius moon, I have this card here to start you with for this collective reading, and it's literally saying look at the bigger picture, which I think is really important at this time. Sagittarius sees the bigger picture. It's not restricted or constricted by boundaries like Capricorn is. So it's the sign before Capricorn. It's a fire sign, it's a dynamic sign. It's a sign that wants to know. It wants to know the truth. And so Sagittarius full moon is about us seeking the truth, seeking our own truth. But there is also an element in this full moon as well of letting go and releasing the past. And that can also be the past of the things that Sagittarius stands for, like our beliefs especially. If our beliefs are no longer working for us, then it's time to let them go because they will hold us back. So this moon card here as well I've picked because it's a mutable moon, just like the last moon that was new in Gemini was also mutable. And we do actually have a T-square happening with this full moon with Sagittarius and Gemini energy, and it's being balanced out through the Mars placement in Pisces. So all those three signs are mutable signs. So it's a very changeable time at this moment in time, which is why this is saying nothing is yet set in stone. So there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of adaptability within the energy of this full moon partial eclipse. And I also today decided I was going to pull a card from Celestial Meditation deck, and this is the card I pulled. It's the Sri Yantra Mandala card, and the mantra itself is Om, which is the first sound that was supposed to come out of the void. And so it says Sri Yantra is the tantric energy of creation. It reveals the ultimate interconnection of opposites, emptiness and form, spirit and matter, male and female. Meditate upon the sacred union of the father and mother manifest in this material world and the true dynamic equilibrium radiating at the heart of all existence will be revealed. Heal from the illusion of separateness and alienation. Contemplate on this image of divine connection and know you are not alone. Which is really interesting for me because what I spoke about quite a lot yesterday in the astrology reading was about the two sides of things, because the sun is in Gemini at the moment. It's making us aware of the two sides of things and what's going on in the world at the moment out there with all these uprisings that are taking place. That's also about division. But this card is talking about inseparability. That nothing is separate, nothing is inseparable. On a bigger level, everything is connected, and that's really what this card is talking about. Also, the divine mother and the divine father, or the divine masculine and the divine feminine energy, is that of the sun and moon as well. So that is also kind of coming out within this energy here with this Sri Yantra Mandala, and the Om being the first sound. And also, if you watch my astrology video, I talk about some things, two things that are in the sign of Sagittarius One is the galactic center, which is what connects us to the cosmos, like an umbilical cord, I call it. And the second is what's known as the great attractor, which is right next to or conjunct this full moon in Sagittarius. And the great attractor literally does that. It's like this river of energy, of raw energy, that is just gathering all these galaxies towards it. They're just pulled magnetically into this kind of spinning vortex of this huge river. It's really fascinating. So if you want to find out more about that, there will be a link in the description box for the astrology video. I probably won't put it in this one, but if you're interested, go and look for the link and you can look it up and find out more, not only about this great attractor but also about the galactic center as well, because both being in Sagittarius and with having this full moon partial eclipse in Sagittarius at the moment, I think it's a really interesting energy that we're kind of working with at this time. So I will just show you this side of it as well so that you can screenshot it or pause it and read it for yourselves. And so the first card that came out here for this collective reading, the Nine of Pentacles, is saying that at this moment in time there's an energy of feeling good about ourselves. There's an energy of feeling as though we've achieved something. It's a 9, so we haven't quite got to the actual ending of something here. But we have reached a point in ourselves where we need to kind of congratulate ourselves, kind of say to ourselves, well done, I did this. Somebody else may have given me help. They may have supported me in this, but ultimately it's down to me as to whether or not I put myself into this position. And so this is what the Nine of Pentacles for me is saying in this collective reading, is that we need to kind of see the bigger picture of how far we've come, rather than seeing how much further we feel we still need to go. Although with it being a 9, it is still about having to reach that final successful ending, but we are really kind of moving towards it. We are really kind of seeing the rewards, if you like, from our achievements and from what we have been doing over this past few months, or at least over this last fortnight since the last or since the new moon, possibly even since the previous full moon as well in Scorpio. And it's covered today by the Princess of Cups. And so the Princess of Cups energy, also known as the Knight of Cups energy, is a real interesting energy, because in this card she's literally drinking from this cup herself. So in many ways she's kind of saying to herself, and it goes really well with this energy here, with this 9, our self-esteem, our self-worth, our kind of support for ourselves. And with this, with her drinking from the cup, for me it's kind of saying, you know, that we have to do this for ourselves first before we can even think about looking after others. It's kind of saying, you know, you have to take care of your own needs first. And that includes love as well. That includes self-love. That includes how much you value yourself as well. This is a card of the water signs. So this would be Pisces, Scorpio and Cancer energy. Very deeply feeling, very sensitive, very emotional, very intuitive, instinctive. They run on their feelings. They know things instinctively. They may not speak about it. They may keep it to themselves, but they know it, they feel it. And they may not even trust it themselves as well. So this is the covering energy that we have at this time. And it's kind of saying to me that this is what we need to do with this 9 of Pentacles. And we need to not feel bad about doing it as well. We need to allow ourselves to take care of our needs first and foremost. Because until we can look after ourselves first and foremost. We can't really look after others, even though with this energy we may want to do that. We may want to. We're instinctively drawn to take care of somebody else's needs first with this energy. But this is saying that this is about us needing, as a collective, to be aware of our own emotional, really, our own emotional needs here. It could also be the card, or it could also be representing Venus retrograde at the moment as well, because she's kind of saying the same thing. Venus has just disappeared behind the sun. She's not coming back out until the 13th, when she's going to reappear as the evening star. So Venus is kind of going through a process of where she's deciding what it is that she wants and what it is that she doesn't want. So this could also be this energy here as well, with this self-esteem card here. What is it I do want? What is it I don't want? What is it that makes me feel good? What is it that makes me feel valued? And why should I feel guilty for feeling that way? And so many of us do, unfortunately, put ourselves through it because of that. And a lot of that has to do with childhood as well. A lot of that has to do with the way that we're brought up, in, you know, being told that we're not the centre of our universe, or, you know, that it's very selfish to kind of focus on your own needs and wants. And actually, in fact, it's vital. It is a survival thing as well, and even emotionally. So judgment in our heads and what we're aware of here. This is the card of Guinevere in the Arthurian legend. And here she's knighting who I believe is Arthur. And I think it's at the time when he's asking for her forgiveness. So I'm presuming that this is going to be after the relationship, or the after she had gone off with, I can't think of his name, his name's eluded me, Lancelot, after she'd slept with Lancelot, and Arthur eventually forgave her because he realised that he had a part to play in that it wasn't just her fault that this had happened. So in some ways, I think this is kind of saying that we all need to see that we play a part in everybody's story, really, and not to kind of be quite so judgmental about everything as well. That we need to stop judging other people and maybe kind of look at our own issues. Maybe again with this Nine of Pentacles here and this Princess of Cups, there's also an element of that there as well, saying that, you know, if we're taking care of ourselves, then we're not going to be kind of looking at everybody else's problems and kind of projecting all our own stuff out there onto everybody else, or onto the bigger world, onto the collective energy. So there is also an element here of forgiveness within this Judgment card, I feel very strongly. And again, forgiveness can start with the self, forgiving ourselves for the parts that we may have played in our own story, as well as other people's stories that have led us to this place of judging their actions. And this is quite a big issue during the Sagittarius full moon as well, really, because Sagittarius is very much about championing the underdog. It's also about justice. It's also about universal law. It's also about our beliefs, very strongly about our beliefs and our opinions. It's about freedom. Freedom to be ourselves, freedom to do what it is that we need to do without somebody else judging us, or us having to justify what it is that we're doing and why we're doing it. Because the only person at the end of the day that we really need to justify anything to is ourselves. And that doesn't mean that we should just be going around doing whatever we please and hurting other people in the process. But if we can't see the difference between doing what we want because we need to do it, even if other people are judging us for it. And there's a lot of that goes on. A lot of us hold back in our lives for fear of other people's judgment, for fear that what we're doing is going to be judged as being wrong or a bit crazy, or that energy of of not fitting in, or not playing a certain role as well. Like, people tend to bracket everything and everybody. We all do it. We all kind of bracket things. It's kind of how our brain works and how we kind of can't say the word today. Really can't say it. I think I might just give up. Kind of try to put things into sections within our brain so that we can name it, and therefore we have something to identify it with as well. So there could also be elements of that here in this card as well. But it's come out also with the Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups is also talking about our past. And one of the big things at this moment in time with this partial full moon eclipse in Sagittarius very strongly is letting go. And that's another issue with the Judgment card here as well, is letting go of our past, of our history, of the things that have brought us to where we are today, that maybe we now need to move on from. The Six of Cups can also be a kind of time of looking back in a kind of melancholic, sorrowful, kind of wishful look on the past, a kind of idyllic way of seeing things as well, seeing things in a way that maybe they weren't necessarily quite how we think they were. But what I'm getting mostly from this today is, with this full moon partial eclipse in Sagittarius and with the South Node there in particular, this is about letting things go. This is about letting our belief systems go, about letting our opinions go, and about really, with the Sun in Gemini as well, questioning, are these beliefs our own beliefs? Are the things that we judge people for things that we really actually believe or hold in high esteem ourselves? Or are these the things that we've been told? Have we been conditioned to think this? Which also can be the Six of Cups energy here as well, because this can also relate to things with our beliefs on an emotional level. We believe that things, we should be a certain way, so we carry on. It's like a pattern that we kind of create for ourselves, so we come to believe it's a truth. So this full moon is saying it's a time of letting go. And again, it really is that whole theme of, since January, that everything has changed and nothing is ever going to go back to normal. And there could also be elements of that here, that we are kind of looking back nostalgically and wishing that things could stay the same. But when we really know that there is no same anymore, there's no normal, as they're saying, you know, as the saying is going, there's no normal. And what even is normal as well? That's another good question to ask ourselves as well. What is normal? You know, just because we've got used to something and we're familiar with it, does that mean it's normal? It's an interesting word, normal. So the Five of Staves or the Five of Wands, the energy that has been around, but we've been working with for the last, maybe the last month, because I believe this turned up in a previous reading. I can't remember if it was the new moon in Gemini reading that we've just had, or it was the full moon in Scorpio reading, but I'm sure that this turned up in the position of our hopes and our fears last time. And it's not, I remember saying actually during that reading, I remember saying that just because it's a hope and a fear doesn't mean it's not going to materialize, because that's where we put our energy, and when we put our energy into our hopes and our fears, that's kind of when we see it become part of our reality. So this for me really sums up what's taking place around the world at the moment, this whole kind of fighting for our opinions, really, for our standing up for our differences. And in many ways for me, the 5, it's an adversity number. The 5 is always about adversity. So it's about working through things, but it seems to be working against us rather than for us or with us. So the energy that's out there at this moment in time, although it seems as though it's a really negative situation and it's a really bad place for us to find ourselves, ultimately it's almost like something has to be cleared. It's like this needs to be, we can't keep going over this again and again and again. It's like we have to get to the root cause of these situations, and we can't allow them to be used against us either, which is another thing with this card here as well. This clashing of clashing of rods, clashing of ideas, clashing of creative thoughts, clashing of, like I said, differences. And there's an interesting kind of tone of colour in this card as well. There's a kind of dullness to this card. Whereas when you look at this card, it's a lot brighter. The colours are brighter and the scenery is brighter. Whereas in this card, it's kind of, it is a sun setting. So for me, it's kind of saying that, you know, the sun is setting on this particular energy in this particular time in general, but this is what we're having to work through as this sun. And when I say the sun is setting, it's like a long sunset, like not just the sun coming up and the sun going down, a 24-hour day. It's a long lasting sunset in a way, something that the sun's still yet to go down on. And we're still having to work through these issues individually and collectively as well, which is also why I feel we have this Judgment card up here in our heads. And what we're aware of at the moment is there's a lot of this energy around us. And ultimately, it is about forgiveness. But it's hard when you're caught up in this energy here. And I also spoke yesterday about how it's very easy at this time as well. We have a Pluto Eris square happening at the moment, so it's very easy to get swept up in this energy. Eris being the goddess of discord and strife and disharmony and literally riots in the streets as well. We've got Eris and Pluto squaring off for the whole of 2020, but they are meeting at this time of the full moon, which is happening today at 11 minutes past 8 UK time. As an exact, they will also be exact today as well, their energy, but their energy is long lasting as well, because they move so slowly. These two planets move so very slowly that it takes a long time for them to actually come together. And so as they're coming together, the energy is building and building and building and building, and then finally it kind of gets to that stage of eruption as well. And the eruption stage can, because there's such slow moving planets moving apart, the actual eruption stage can take a long time as well. So things could get worse before they actually get any better, before we see any change or any forgiveness or any breakthroughs in this energy. What we have below us and what we're aware of at this moment in time is or not aware of, should I say, at this moment in time, working on a deeper, more subconscious level, the King of Swords. So the King of Swords energy is very much to do with the intellect, it's the mind, it's very much the kind of Gemini, Sun in Gemini energy for me here. Venus in Gemini as well. We've recently had Mercury in Gemini. And the moon's node is now in Gemini as well. So it's a very strong air energy. It can also be Libra energy. It can also be Aquarius energy. But at this moment in time, because of all the planets that are kind of around that Gemini energy, there's a big focus on Gemini at this time. So I'm seeing the King of Swords as that Gemini energy, the very analytical energy that also wants to understand things. It wants to know things. It wants things to make sense. Communication. Gemini is all about communication, and the King of Swords needs to communicate his truth as well, and it is upright. In fact, all of these cards have been upright, which is quite incredible. And the sword, because the sword is pointing down as well, he's open to communication, he's open to listening, he's open to hearing the other point of view, the other side of the story. But that's underneath all of this. So this is maybe something that people are not quite so aware of, that's happening on a deeper level at this moment in time. That there does need to be this this open communication is really what's going to, communication is what's going to help us understand things ourselves as well on a bigger level as well. With the full moon in Sagittarius, look at the bigger picture energy. In order to understand things, you have to really kind of go deeply into it as well, and not just kind of know it intellectually, but to really kind of feel it and understand it. Maybe that's why this Gemini energy is all kind of on the more of a subconscious level here, because we're also being asked to feel what we kind of know. Seven of Cups energy is what's moving in. So this talks about options. It also talks about confusion, because there could be too many options. And this could also have something to do with as the world starts opening up again. People are going to have to start looking at different options when it comes to their lives, their livelihood, jobs, relationships, all this kind of thing is really, I feel, going to be called into question for us. Maybe that's also why this King of Swords is here as well. He has this deeper understanding of the reality of things. He has a very discerning mind as well, the King of Swords. So if you kind of bring that discerning mind into also a place of the feeling, knowing it really strongly, it's kind of saying follow your instincts. There may be a lot of communication in your own head as well. You may feel the need to communicate with yourself on a deeper level. But this card with the 7 here, all those cups are kind of full of different experiences that you could go down. Some of them not so pleasant, some of them very enjoyable. And the one at the top is kind of the hidden one. It's kind of the one that's secretive, it's unknown. And she's deep in kind of this kind of meditative state here. The Seven of Cups can also be known as castles in the air as well, so it can be like, you know, having too many options and you don't know which one to think. But also because she's in this deep kind of sleeping, meditative kind of looking state to me, I feel as though it is kind of, you know, trusting your instincts, going with our feelings, going within to find what it is that we really do need, what it is that's going to kind of bring us that happiness that we're looking for. Because the Seven, or the Cups in general, is about happiness. All of the Cups relates to the emotions, it relates to our happiness, ultimately. So I'm just going to pull two more cards, one for the hopes and the fears, and one to see what the likeliest outcome is here, and then I will clarify these cards that I've already laid down. So Sagittarius, full moon, partial eclipse. What are the hopes and the fears for the collective at this time? Hopes and fears for the collective at this time during this full moon in Sagittarius, partial eclipse energy. Hopes and fears, Four of Wands, the Four of Staves, which is kind of saying to me that we're all hoping that at some point we're going to be able to celebrate our success. Also, though, I feel as though this is kind of, again, if you look here, you can kind of see these two characters. I'll just stand up and get a little bit closer for you. Of Guinevere, I think it looks very kind of similar here, these two celebrating here in front of the castle. But the Four is about foundations, and it's also about challenges as well. So although they're kind of celebrating in this Four energy of having completed something, it still says that there's challenges ahead. This can also relate to, like I was saying, celebration, but it's not a celebration of something that's ultimately achieved or finished. This is kind of the original, or the beginning, celebrating the start of something in a way, celebrating something new, celebrating the fact that we've managed to kind of build a foundation, a stronger foundation. But this is in our hopes and our fears. So on a world collective scale at this time, we're all kind of hoping and wishing that we're going to be able to bring this energy together in order to be able to move forward. I feel that this is about us moving forward into something different with a solid foundation. This is about needing a solid foundation. It's like our foundation has been rocked since the Saturn and Pluto conjunction, and since the lockdown, and since everything that's happening at this moment in time. Everything that we knew that was solid and there for us, and that we could rely on, and that we took for granted in many ways because it was just there, has been kind of swept away in many ways. It was a tower moment. And so this card is about building those solid foundations in order for something stronger to be created long term. There is an element here as well, kind of saying, you know, that if Arthur was able to forgive Guinevere for what she did to him, which he did forgive her, then we should also be able to forgive ourselves and others as well. Because ultimately Arthur forgave himself by forgiving Guinevere for the part that he must have played in the story. So the outcome, the likely outcome for the collective at this time during this full moon Sagittarius partial eclipse reading. Just watching the weather changing out there. Storm clouds are kind of coming in. So what do we have? We have the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, and we have our first reverse card as well. So we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is saying that things are changing. Nothing's going to stay the same. The wheel always turns. The wheel being the bigger kind of karmic, dharmic wheel of life, which very much relates to the celestial bodies of the planets as well, and how they affect us all down here on Earth, and how things happen in cycles, with like wheels within wheels, cycles within cycles of time. So things are changing. There is going to be a change, but with the Four of Cups here, it could feel as though we're going through a time of I'm feeling like a time of uncertainty, which is quite interesting, because I actually called my astrology reading Finding Hope in a Time of Uncertainty, because I do feel very much as though we're in this time of uncertainty. We've got two fours here as well. We've got the Four of Wands upright in our hopes and our fears, and we've got the Four of Cups in reverse with this Wheel of Fortune. And the Four often talks of a time of disappointment, of being let down, of something not turning out the way that we thought it was going to turn out. And it can also be the beginning of an emotional inner journey as well, the Four, because it asks us to take a deeper look at what it is that has caused this situation. And here you see she's got the 3 cups here on one side and the 1 cup here. So it's like the 1 cup that she brought in, and this is the 3 cups of the celebration, the celebratory energy of the 3, of when you kind of decide whether or not you're going to put your time and your energy and your value into the initial attraction that you have with somebody. You meet somebody and then you kind of think to yourself, right, you know, do I want to take this further? So the 3 for me is not just a time of celebration of the actual relationship, although it can be, but it can also be a time of celebrating your own understanding of your value and deciding that you're not going to put your time and your energy and your effort into something, and you're going to walk away from it. And also with the 4 as well, you know, you can decide to put your time and your energy and effort into it and then end up getting hurt by it as well. So there's also this story within this card as well. But it is an energy, I feel, mostly of this sense of because again she's also got her eyes closed here as well, and it also fits quite nicely with this 7 of Cups here, which is our future energy, the energy that she's kind of that we're moving into. And so maybe it talks about us also moving into things with her eyes shut as well. With her eyes shut, she can't see what's in front of her. But is she also going within to learn to trust her instincts better? Has there been a situation where she's trusted her kind of visual sense, if you like, and it's kind of, she's been let down by it, so now she's needing to go within and be more receptive to her own instinctual knowing. So I'm going to clarify these cards. Interestingly, the moon is in the background of that card as well, so it does kind of talk to me about the instincts and the kind of feelings and the knowing. It also talks to me as well of a kind of Neptunian energy here as well, Pisces energy. Pisces, I feel more Pisces energy than the other two water signs, Scorpio and Cancer. I don't pick that up so much, although it could be their energy as well. Both Scorpio and Cancer, of course, having shells within which they hide themselves away to keep themselves safe. So it could also be about retreating within ourselves as well. This need to kind of look within, go within. With the moon, that could also relate to the Cancer energy, but I'm feeling kind of a Pisces kind of surrendering energy, in fact, with this card. A kind of surrendering to the changes that are occurring, and even if we don't like them, having to kind of accept that on some deeper level we have to allow this process to go through its to its conclusion. We have the Five of Fire, which I always see as the kind of, nobody came to my party type of card, which is interesting because it is the 5 after the 4 here as well, but it's in reverse. And so there could be an element with this card, with the 5 of Fire here, of feeling just let down. There's this element of let down, which I kind of feel goes with this 4 of Cups here as well. Both of these energies is kind of let down, something not turning out the way it was supposed to, or the way that you thought it was going to, or the way that you wanted it to. But there is this new opportunity with this Ace of Earth here. There is something coming in that is going to kind of help you to stand strong, I feel, or for us as a collective to stand strong here. The Ace of Earth is about not just our finances, but it's also about our value as well. It's about where we put our value. So this, for me, being an ace, it's a new energy that's coming in, and it's a kind of, I would say new opportunity for us to really question, where do we as a collective place our value? Is it within the kind of monetary system that we have? And this stag here is looking, today is looking like there's a kind of a bit of an imbalance going on here as well, with like, one antler is a lot more grown, it's a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's like it's got more more reach somehow, explaining this very well. Almost like it has more understanding on some level of what this is about. Because there's also growth on this antler as well. You see, it's like this one's stunted. Somehow this is stunted. This hasn't grown. This hasn't kind of joined this one yet. But this one has kind of outgrown this one. So maybe there's also an element of that here as well, that we're kind of outgrowing something. Something that was balanced once but is no longer balanced. Something maybe that we no longer need, that we thought we did. That's kind of what I'm picking up on. Something stunted, something is more stunted, and something else can give us growth. An opportunity for growth within this card. Whereas this is kind of more to do with the stunted energy in many ways. You know, it's kind of like, I always get the feeling of like, you know, this is my party. This is my party. And I want it the way I want it. And nobody turns up because there's too much control from this energy. Is what I'm feeling today. Is 5 of fire. Again, it's an adverse energy. 5s are an adverse energy. But it feels like it's kind of, you know, I mean, it is literally this card again here. So, but it's in reverse. So, and today I'm feeling it more as, this controlling, something very controlling that has stunted us, that has stopped us from being able to grow and see our own value as well, because it has come out over the top of this 9 of Pentacles and this Princess of Cups as well, which is about our value system, why we value something, how we value it. And it is a very earthy energy, so it's the energy of Capricorn, Taurus and Virgo, but of course at this moment in time we also have Jupiter and Pluto, who are just about to meet up again in Capricorn as well. So that could also be a part of this energy of what's happening, although it seems adverse. Through that adversity there will be growth. Something that was stunted will no longer be stunted. It will begin to grow. We will see light. There will be more lights involved as well, with that light behind it. Jupiter for me is the kind of light. It's the kind of joy, optimism. It's also the ruler of Sagittarius, of course, where this full moon is taking place as well, which is more the fire energy. So let's see why we've got the Judgment and the 6 of Cups here as well for this full moon Sagittarius reading. Why is the Judgment card and the 6 of Cups here, please, universe? Okay. Transformation. Wonderful. That is the Pluto energy. As I was just talking about, the Pluto and the Jupiter energy which is going to transform. There is transformation taking place, but of course in most decks this card would be seen as the death card. So it's the ruler, or Pluto is the ruler of the underworld, he's the ruler of death and transformation, rebirth, birth, death. All those kind of things are ruled by Pluto. The big issues of life in some ways, you know, the major birth, death and rebirth, or transformations that happen during our entire lifetimes. We go through deaths, we go through rebirths, we go through transformations. Some of us go through them a lot more than others. Some people manage to get from one end of their life to the other without really experiencing much transformation or much. They kind of seem to sidestep it somehow. But some of us go through these really deep processes that kind of shift us into kind of a totally different, I want to say kind of dimension, but I think that may be quite extreme, but they kind of shift us onto maybe new timelines or something when we're ready. And I feel that this is what this is kind of about, you know, that everything that is taking place at this moment in time, this kind of feeling of this Jupiter energy and this Pluto energy together, which is going to bring this transformation into our lives. Because we do have at this time Jupiter in the middle of both Saturn and Pluto. So Jupiter is sitting literally within the energy of the two malefics either side. You know, it's got the Lord of Karma one side and the Lord of the Underworld the other side. So Jupiter is kind of trying its best to kind of keep things buoyant and to keep things above kind of the sinking level, if you like. You know, we could be feeling quite seriously like there's no future, there's no, you know, what's the point? But Jupiter being there is kind of keeping our spirits up. It's kind of managing somehow to raise our spirits. And the transformation here, if you look very carefully, you can see that in her hand, I don't know if you can see that, what looks like a lot of flames is actually the phoenix rising from the ashes, and that is very much another Pluto energy as well. Is that Pluto kind of destroys everything from the underworld, literally, like digging down into the kind of the foundations and the roots of things, and really kind of getting to the very, you know, the very bottom of how things are kind of, how can you put it, like, you know, in history, kind of how things become solid in our minds and in our lives, and how, you know, we live day to day these things because history has kind of put them there for us, and they become more and more and more solid as the years go by, because we just kind of do it as we're supposed to, whatever that is, you know. And Pluto kind of comes in and kind of goes, no, not anymore. It's time for this to change. It's time for this to shift energy. It's time to kind of step up a gear. It's time for it to be renewed, rebirthed, changed. So that's what this energy for me is. And it also kind of sees, I see this as us on a collective scale as well, like this being, if you like, the cosmos, kind of watching us going through this process and kind of holding us as well very gently in its hands and saying, look, you know, I am keeping you safe. It's okay to go through this process. You are safe during this time. And there's a real kind of intense look on her face as well, of like, you know, of, again, I kind of see this as the kind of stage of it, like, you're not just the phoenix rising from the ashes, but also the butterfly stage of us, or, yeah, that's kind of coming out of this cocooned state of being, this kind of structure that we've kind of grown up around us, that we no longer can live within those confines. And so this transformation has to take place. So let's see why the Five of Staves is here. Why is the Five of Staves here? This full moon, partial eclipse in Sagittarius. Collective reading, please universe. Why do we have the Five of Staves here, which we've been working through? And I have a clarifying card for this Five of Staves, please. This energy of clashing. Let's get clashing opinions, clashing thoughts, clashing ideas. My idea is better than your idea. My way of doing it's better than your way of doing it. And this kind of separateness and keeping things separate as well. Okay, we have the Two of Earth, which is quite interesting because there is a lot of division, I feel, at this moment in time on this planet. A lot of division. Gemini energy being the dual energy, the two sides of everything. In this card I see this as kind of, you know, us having to make a choice between what we had and what wants to come in. Even though I don't feel as though what we had we can still keep, but there's a part of us in some way that wants to hold on to that. We still have these kind of, you know, ideas of the past as being something that was idealistic, and, you know, that's how we're kind of looking at it. We're looking at it in an idealistic way and forgetting a lot of the kind of, you know, the strife and the stress and the hardships that we've been through. If you look back through history, our history is full of really nasty, I mean really nasty things that have taken place, you know, just off the top of my head, like the Spanish Inquisition and the Chinese Revolution, you know, Second World War, First World War, and you can go back and look all through history. There has been so much bloodshed and so much kind of separatism, and I feel that that's what this card is kind of representing for me today, this separatism. But at the same time it also represents something old that's wanting to leave and something new that's wanting to come in. And that's also what I feel this card is here with this ace. So this is the energy that is moving away but has been around for a while. And I also feel that there's those with kind of a vested interest, shall we say, to keep this energy going, to keep us clashing with each other, to keep that separatism alive, in order for us not to have something new and fair and balanced, and to stop that kind of stunted growth that we've had to live through for a long time now. So this is about us kind of moving out of something, but we're still attached to it. So we haven't let it go, we haven't dropped it. So we're still kind of bringing that energy in with us. So there is a balancing act here, but it is also kind of saying, you know, the unknown. It's the unknown. And when something's unknown, we can be very hesitant about it. We can be very unsure about it. We can be very, well, it is the unknown. So as a race of people, we like to know. hence the reason for why our brain has to kind of name everything. And okay, so we have this Seven of Earth in our subconscious, and this, for me, the sevens are always about a dilemma. And I feel that this, again, this little fairy here is this new idea that's coming in, this new path that's opening up for us with this energy here as well. And us kind of having to learn to be discerning and trust also on a deeper level our feelings of how it is that we feel about something, rather than just judging it by its look. Because in this card, it's kind of saying to me that he is a very different character to this little fairy here. So he's kind of looking at it, for me it's coming across today as though he's looking at it in a kind of way of, well, I don't really know what you are. I don't really know, you know, you're different to me. You're different. There's some, you know, it's like, am I going to, what I'm getting from this is, am I going to kind of let you into my life, if you like? And I feel it's kind of relating to this energy here as well, this new energy that's coming in. Am I going to let this in? Am I going to allow you to kind of be a part of my life? Or because you're different, do I have to try and keep you separate from me? Do I have to try and ostracize you, make you different, turn you into an enemy in some ways as well? And the dilemma is as well, is that this could be something that is so incredible and kind of divinely inspired, like this thought, this something that's come in, this idea, this new creation, this new way of being, that if we turn our back on it, what are we going to lose? You know, that's also with this Seven of Cups here, this energy here. But if she doesn't choose something, which I feel is also this energy of kind of working her way through all of this to get to this, which for me is this energy coming through here. This little sparkly thing here, which is also this transformation as well. So he can go down two paths here. He can go to, he's like being given options in that sense of going down two paths of, like, you know, how are you going to treat this? How are you going to accept it? Are you going to let it show you all its wonder and its magic and its newness and its like everything about it that you don't know, because you don't know anything about it yet? So are you going to reject it on those grounds that it's different? And you have, like I said, with the King down here as well, there is the need here to be very discerning, but at the same time to also question, at the same time to also communicate and to ask questions, want to find out more, not just ignore it or or like I said, like ostracize it, you know, not just to turn it into an enemy and decide, no, I'm not going there, I don't want anything to do with that. So why do we have the Seven of Cups here for this full moon reading today in Sagittarius universe? Why do we have this Seven of Cups as our moving in energy? Seven of Cups. Why is it here, please, universe? Full moons, partial eclipse in Sagittarius reading. Why do we have the Seven of Cups energy? Seven of Cups, Seven of Cups, Seven of Cups. Why is it here? No, nothing. Oh, pigeons just lighted on on the light out there near the house. Seven of Cups. There's full moon in Sagittarius. Thank you. Partial reading. We have the Ace of Water, or the Ace of Cups in reverse. So I feel that this is about trusting ourselves enough to accept the love, giving ourselves that cup. With this challenge here, this is that Ace of Cups here. This is the challenge, is to be able to drink from that cup first. And because it's come out upside down for me here, it's kind of saying that, you know, we don't find that easy to do. It's not something that we just naturally lean towards on the whole. As a collective, I feel like loving ourselves as human beings for who we are, and not constantly needing justification as well. Because I feel that that's what this card is saying today, that the Ace of Cups, or the Ace of Water in reverse, is kind of saying to me that, you know, we're looking for validation and justification. Validation, probably more than justification. Validation of who we are as individuals. And that to create that happiness for ourselves, rather than constantly trying to find it outside in the world. And that can also be to do within relationships as well. Also to do with maybe in a sense of having a relationship is better than not having a relationship. So sometimes we'll just have a relationship because we feel that we should be with somebody, and I feel very strongly that's a kind of thing that has been, society has been kind of brought up to believe that, you know, if you're single, if you're on your own, then there must be something wrong with you, because nobody wants to be with you, otherwise you would be with somebody. It's almost like being single isn't a choice that we make, it's something that's kind of imposed on us because there's something about us that kind of isn't good enough. But I feel that this time is kind of saying, you know, that this is time, this whole time is about time of looking after our own needs first. Let's look as well, there's something on that pearl as well. And I often think of the pearl as being something, I've spoken about this in previous videos as well, the pearl is something that starts off as an irritant to the oyster. For us, it's an absolutely beautiful gem that comes out of this, and it's, you know, it's so precious that people risk their lives to go down and kind of bring these up from the beds, like a natural oyster, not so much the man-made oyster pearls from the oyster farms these days, but that, you know, we forget that to the oyster itself, to the creature that created this pearl, it was just a grain of sand that was an annoyance. it just got in the way. It just kind of irritated it. And so in order for it to stop having that irritation, in order for it to stop feeling uncomfortable, it had coated it over and over and over again until it becomes this beautiful pearl that kind of shimmers and shines, and it's kind of opalescent, you know, it's a really pretty thing, a pearl. But at the same time, to the oyster, it wasn't something that it was wanting to create. It just wanted peace. It just wanted to feel comfortable in its own skin, in its own shell, you know. And I think that that's also elements of that in this card here as well. And also the fact, the layers as well, the kind of layers that we lay on top of ourselves to kind of hide our emotional I hesitate to use the word failings, but our emotional kind of stories, or our emotional past issues, or things that we bring through us with us from our childhood and our past. It's all about layers, because a pearl is built up by layers. So maybe that's also what this card is also saying here, that there, you know, there's many layers to this. There's many layers to our emotional body as well, that maybe we're going to have to kind of go deeper and delve deeper within those. Because the seahorse in reverse as well is not going to be rising, he's going to be falling. He's going to be dropping down deeper into the ocean, into his emotional like more the subconscious realm. I see the water element as being a kind of subconscious realm, the psychic realm, the kind of unknown watery depths, if you like. Again, the Pisces, Cancer and Scorpio energy. And again, I'm feeling it more as Neptune, because there's Mars is in Neptune, sorry, Pisces, not Neptune. I'm feeling it more as a Neptunian energy, because we have Mars in Pisces, and we also have Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune is going to go retrograde in Pisces quite soon as well. So there's going to be quite a lot of Piscean energy. We also have the Four of Water here as well. So again, this Four of Cups has come out. This time it's come out on the top of our hopes and our fears here with the Four of Wands. But again, it's that kind of sense of sorrow, because we've got it twice now. It's come out as our outcome, and it's also come out as our hope and our fear. So it may be that there's going to be a kind of a lot of overwhelming sense of, I feel again, you know, that energy of, you know, what can I do about it? What can I do about it? It's too much. It's overwhelming. Again, because she's in reverse as well here. So like the seahorse, she's kind of sinking further down rather than rising above everything. And she also holds this pearl in her hand as well, as I was just talking about there, this pearl. And for me, this pearl always looks like a crystal ball. I always see her as holding out this crystal ball, as if to say, like, you know, come and see what your future holds in store, or come and see what you're missing, or come and see where your future is going to take you. So there is elements of this kind of this sense of, because it's upside down, I just get this sense of kind of sadness and but this again, because it's 2 4s as well, so it's an element of 8 here, and the 8s are all about that balance, the infinity symbol, kind of the ongoing energy of life, if you like, of, you know, the longer picture as well. Like Sagittarius, look at the bigger picture, don't just kind of focus on the smaller detail. And it's also come out with, again, another 4. The same 4 again here. So, wow, that's really interesting. We've got this 4 again, along with this 4, our hopes and our fears. So 4s to me are all about challenge. It's that squaring energy. So that's a lot of challenge. And our hopes and our fears, it's kind of saying to me that we really are feeling as though, almost like, what's the point? Almost like giving up, almost like, you know, where is this leading? Is it taking me where I want to go, or is it even worth me putting myself into this at all? A lot of kind of sense of disappointment here, a lot of kind of sense of things just not necessarily turning out to be how we want them to be or expect them to be. Again, as I was talking about earlier, I've said this earlier, the same kind of energy coming through. With the 4 of fire again, they're talking of kind of celebration, but it's in reverse, so it's kind of saying that, you know, something that was meant to be good, something that was meant to be celebratory in our lives is kind of turning into something that's not. Especially with this again, after the 4 we have the 5 here as well. A card of despondency in many ways, a card of like, I'm fed up with this, I'm really fed up with this. That's why I always see this as kind of, you know, that energy of, it was my party. And we have the Hangman coming into our future here as well. So the Hangman is talking about literally kind of limbo stage, this limbo energy of things not changing fast enough, or not us kind of just feeling as though we don't have any input here, because it's also come out with the Ace of Air in reverse as well. So we may feel as though we're going to go through a time of feeling very possibly ignored, like as though we don't have a say here with this Hangman energy. Although it's not in reverse, it does still talk about, like, you know, hanging yourself. This is the Pisces energy I was talking about earlier. This is the 12th house energy, the Hangman. It is the energy of surrendering and letting go. But I feel that it's more about this surrendering and letting go on a level of feeling that we don't have a choice. Because the Ace of Swords is in reverse as well. And the Ace of Swords talks of this new kind of idea or flashes of inspiration or truth coming through. A realization of something, but it's in reverse. So in reverse, it's kind of saying to me that it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for us to get to the bottom of things. It's going to take some time for us to really see through the illusions. Through the illusions, I feel, of what we thought our world was and how we believed it to be. And because it's come out over the top of the Fortune card, the Four of Cups, the kind of energy of despondency, the Hangman, and this here to me, I see these two, like this Wheel of Fortune, literally here as the wheel here that we are kind of hanging ourselves on. And we do have this connection to this divine source energy. If you look very carefully, his foot is kind of connected. He is connected, and that to me is this connection to something greater, something bigger than what we are. But at the same time, with this Wheel of Fortune, I feel as though that is literally the Wheel of Fortune, and it is changing, it is turning, but it's slow. It's a slow process. These are both major arcana cards. So these cards take some time for things to change and for things to move. Being major arcana cards, they're kind of bigger events in our lives, collectively and individually. And so these two cards, for me, are kind of going together as well, with this both being in reverse as well. It's kind of, again, this kind of almost looks like hanging in limbo here as well, being upside down on this tree as well. She's leaning up against this tree, but it's in reverse. So it could almost be the same energy of the Hangman, because the Hangman originates from the story of Odin, who was supposed to have hung himself from the tree, which was how he saw or got the runes. How the runes came to him was by him hanging himself upside down, so he had a different perspective of the world. Also, Prometheus was hung upside down as well. Prometheus was the god that gave fire to the human race as well. So he was also hung upside down on the rock for having done that. So it is kind of seen as a form of, in a way, a kind of punishment, as well as it being kind of this perspective, this kind of seeing things in a different light. There can also be this element of being hung upside down as a punishment. So we may also feel as though we are being kind of hung out to dry at times as well. But while that's taking place, we are kind of searching for this truth. We are looking for these flashes of truth to come in. Ace of Air, communication. But again, it's reversed. Usually it's a sword, and a sword is normally something that's kind of used to cut through things. It can be about discernment, it can be about like a laser focus, so that you kind of cut through the BS, you just kind of get straight to the point of something. But when it's in reverse, for me, it's kind of talking about things not being as clear cut, of there being a lot of fogginess around the issue, of not necessarily being told, given all the information, or not being told the truth about things as well. So we're going to have to kind of try and be a bit more discerning for ourselves, possibly. There could be elements of that within this Ace of Fire as well. Ace of Air, sorry. So I'm going to finish the reading with this Namaste blessing. Actually, I have got one more card that I'm going to read after this. So the crystal clear blessing: you are soon blessed with great clarity. Your destiny is calling and your soul is shining its infinite wisdom. You are blessed, protected and guided in all you do from this moment. So maybe that's also what this ace is talking about as well, that we will get clarity, but it's going to take some time coming in. with this Hangman card here and this Wheel of Fortune. And in the meantime, we're just going to feel as though we're not being given all the information or the options. With the 3, 4 of Cups, it's kind of this sense of despondent energy. Things don't feel right. A despondency, a kind of disharmony within us as well, possibly. Imbalance there as well. Maybe we're feeling out of balance. Maybe that's also what this Hangman here is saying as well. But I also get a sense of this transformation that's taking place with this card as well. Because he does remind me of a moth hanging there. Like hanging out to dry, like when they come out of that pupae, or a butterfly comes out of its chrysalis stage and it kind of hangs there waiting to dry, waiting to kind of become what it's just become. And I often ask myself, you know, does a butterfly even remember ever having been a caterpillar? And there's also that quote by Richard Bach as well of, you know, what the master calls, sorry, what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls the butterfly. Which I think is a beautiful saying. So lastly, I'm going to quickly read this energy here. Not that one. Not that one either. I just put that in there. Whoops. And now I've lost my page. Where am I? All over the place. Must be the full moon. Tiger's eye. Tiger's eye. Tiger's eye. Tiger, tiger, burning bright. Okay, so we have the Tiger's Eye right timing, and this relates to the solar plexus chakra, and it's the colour gold mostly that it connects with. So it says when one believes in the concept of right timing, there is no reason for impatience. Maybe that's also what this is talking about as well. This Hangman maybe also talking about that right timing, especially with this Wheel of Fortune. Here, you can't rush the cycles of time. There is no need for worry. If something is not happening quickly, that could also be this card here, the worrying card. If something is not happening quickly enough for you, do not be concerned. All is as it should be with the timing of that event. You have heard the expression, all in good time. The word good is a derivative. Can't speak today. A derivation of God. The phrase should more correctly be stated all in God's time. And you can change God personally to universe or source energy, divine energy, whichever suits yourself, because I know the word God can have some connotations for some people. Even though from your individual perspective an event may seem early or late, it always happens at just the right moment. The clock and calendar of the universe are different from those of the physical plane. Whereas your time is fixed and rigid, the timetable of the universe is variable, dependent on history. That's kind of what this moon is about as well, and all this energy at this moment in time being about flexibility and adaptability. History is not only the Battle of Hastings, JFK's assassination, or your 15th birthday. History is also standing in line at the grocery store, sitting in a traffic jam, or waiting for water to boil. History is the passing of time, but also of life incidents, none of which are insignificant, which is interesting because I kind of brought history into this earlier on. Life is full of past events, and it will be full of future ones. But more important than either of these, life is full of the present. Most people are not fully conscious in the present. They are preoccupied with what has happened or what will happen. Be present in the present. Slow down. Stop thinking about your next appointment. Look around you. Listen to the hum of voices, machinery, or the absence of it. Feel the texture of the layers of experience all around you. If you had not stopped to notice, you would have missed out on this event in your history. There may be special moments seeking you out when you are too busy to notice. Good fortune may be looking for an opening to share itself with you. If you are speeding impatiently toward your future, you will not be able to make the connection with your possible destinies. It could also be what this card is about as well, the potential destinies here. Life will stream by you, an endless succession of meetings, activities, and other obligations. Whatever you are doing, wherever you are, immerse yourself in the experience. If you feel impatient, you are thinking more about where you are going to be than where you are. Patience is fueled by the faith that all will happen as it should and when it should. If you forced to wait in a long grocery line, perhaps it is because you are supposed to encounter an old friend in the parking lot. Your schedule and hers have to coincide perfectly for the meeting to occur. Right timing is not the perceived best timing for one individual. It is the best timing for an intricately woven web of millions of entities, all affecting each other. The universe orchestrates circumstances and timing that will impact the greatest number for the highest good. What timing issues caused you to draw our card today? If something you want to happen in your life seems unduly delayed, consider why it has not occurred yet. Is it for the highest good of all who are involved? Does everyone benefit as a result of what will happen? Can you relinquish your own timetable in favour of right timing, whenever that may be? Ask for guidance as to the reason for the delay, then let it go. Insistence can make matters worse. You may effectively create a situation that you insist upon, only to later wish you had not. Our golden colour and energy correspond perfectly to that of the solar plexus chakra, which we assist. The solar plexus is the centre of personal power in the self. One aspect of power is knowing when to use your will and when to not, which is kind of what I was talking about earlier with this energy as well, of knowing when we should be kind of not selfish as such, but kind of doing what we need to do because we need to do it. Always move positively forward, but let the universe take care of timing. You have heard that there are no mistakes or coincidences. We also tell you that things do not happen at the wrong time. The universe runs on right timing. Likewise, so do you. You are a timepiece ticking at your own pace. Your rhythm is your vibration or frequency. Do you worry that your spiritual development is slower than you would like? You are evolving in perfect timing. You can never measure your progress against another person's. Each of you, and also this energy here as well, I was talking about this clashing energy. Each of you is working on an entirely different timetable. It is necessary that you work through your own unique series of experiences before certain key life-changing events will occur. Time spent agonising over your lack of progress only erects roadblocks in your path, which may also be this energy here as well. Allow the universal timekeeper to work its magic. Patience and positive effort draw the abundance of the universe to you. A calm, trusting spirit will allow you to recognise and welcome serendipity when it arrives. Set aside your worry. Everything is occurring at the right time. Make the most of it. So that's quite interesting, because I think on a bigger picture scale, as the full moon in Sagittarius is saying, look at the bigger picture rather than just focusing on our kind of day-to-day existence and what we see happening around us daily. We need to kind of broaden that that view of our life as well, and kind of say, you know, that everything that is happening in the right time and for the right reason. And I think that's what this tiger's eye is trying to remind us here. So tiger's eye is quite an easy crystal to find as well. If anybody's wanting tiger's eye, you can find it online. may help us with this kind of, you know, feeling that things aren't taking place as quickly as we like, particularly at this moment in time that we're in. So with that, I'm going to finish this full moon partial eclipse reading in Sagittarius. I'm not sure what the time is or whether it's actually taken place yet or not, but I will wish you all the best. I hope that you do have a wonderful experience and experiences during this full moon eclipse time. Please take care of yourselves and take care of those around you who you can take care of. And until the next full moon reading that I do, or new moon reading that I do, there are other videos on my channel as well. And I'm going to say take care. Thank you for watching.